Welcome to QuickSWIP's online video series. In this video, we'll discuss onboarding and staff training for QuickSWIP's field technicians. In this section, we're going to discuss stormwater sampling techniques and procedures. As you see behind me, this is a scenario that happens often where a larger development, as you see in the background, all drains into one location. And that location, the drain pipe right there on the bottom right hand corner. So that makes our job a lot easier in the sense that instead of going around sampling at every single storm drain inlet throughout a development, we could do our storm drain sampling in just one location down there. Now what we're going to do is walk down and take a look and see if we have any storm drain runoff. Obviously it's not raining right now, but on larger sites there sometimes is perpetual water flowing off a site. It could be groundwater, it could be water during construction. So let's go down there and take a look and see if we can grab a sample. So as we move down closer to the drain, throughout the years we have developed the best way to capture stormwater. We've tried all sorts of different kinds of bottles. We've tried all different kinds of sampling devices, but throughout time and experience, what we've noticed, the best way to capture stormwater is through a reusable Ziploc bag. Something simple as this works the best, and I'll show you exactly how as we get closer and take a look at the sample down there. And here we are down at the sampling location. Again, it's not raining, but there is flow coming and gives us a great chance to actually take a sample. And I'll show you exactly how we do that in this scenario. We got our bag out, open it up. Follow me down here as we go. You'll see the water flowing. Bag open. Capture about 2 or 3 inches worth and we're good. Let's go sample. So as you see here, we have our Hanna turbidity meter, the item in blue, as well as a Hanna pH meter to the right. It's a red one. They both come in cases. Both of these become issued to you as a QSP with QuickSWIP. It is your responsibility to take care of these items, keep them in safe spots, don't leave them in your car because these are very expensive, and the last thing we want to do is get these lost, stolen, damaged, anything like that. So take good care of them. And the next step is to actually show you how the turbidity meter works as well as the pH meter with the sample we just took. So the first step, we're going to grab the pH meter, unbox it. This is your pH meter. At the bottom of your pH meter, you have a plastic protector. Make sure that is removed before you start taking your samples. So we'll go ahead and remove this guy. You have your probe right there. So the step is to insert this probe into the water sample we just took, and I'll show you how to do that next. And here we have our sample. We're going to take our pH meter, make sure you turn it on, hitting the black button. You'll see the digital screen show up. I'm going to insert it in, make sure the probe is fully immersed. And it is settled down here at 8.1. I'm going to go ahead and show it to you guys. 8.1. We're good. It's not jumping around, so we know it is a good sample. So we'll take it out, turn it off, and keep your sample water, and just make sure that you record the pH value that you just obtained, 8.1. Once you've obtained the pH value, you'll have to record that value so you don't forget it. Now there's 2 ways to do it. One way is kind of the old school way with a piece of paper and pen on a clipboard. The other way that is totally fine is recording it on your phone. There's a number of apps on your cell phone that record notes, and that's acceptable as well. It's all personal preference. So moving on from the pH testing, we're going to go into the turbidity testing. Turbidity and pH testing is required for risk level 2 and risk level 3 sites. We finished the pH testing, put the pH meter back in the case, close that, put it off to the side. I'm going to go through kind of what you're looking at here so you understand all the elements of the turbidity meter. These up here are actually for calibrating the unit. So we're not going to focus on these. Typically that's something that we will calibrate once a year. This is not the QSP's responsibility necessarily to do the calibration unless desired or unless they think the turbidity meter is off. The next set of vials right here are your sample vials. So the stormwater samples will actually be deposited into these vials. These are magnets that you could put throughout the site to make sampling easier. Typically we're not on a site too often and there's too much activity going on to place any of these magnets on a site, so we don't usually use these. What's in here is an outlet, so you can actually plug the turbidity meter into the wall to operate it, but for the most part we use batteries to operate the turbidity meter. And this is actually the meter. The sample will go in here, and I'll show you how that's done in the next step. But before we get there, this is a silicone oil that sometimes if these vials get scratched, you want to put some of that oil on the outside of the vial, and you want to buff it out with what's provided. It's kind of these fine cloths that you can kind of polish the outside of your vial. It's very important when you are handling these vials, you do not handle them below the line. If you start getting fingerprints and start grabbing it below the line, that does affect the turbidity, and that could increase the turbidity in a negative fashion, an unwanted fashion that is not indicative of the actual turbidity of the sample. As I previously mentioned, taking the samples with a plastic bag is hugely beneficial, and the reason for that you're about to find out. I take my sample beaker that the stormwater actually has to get deposited into, make sure we don't touch it below the line, and we unscrew the cap. We have the plastic bag filled with our stormwater, and you'll see the technique here. You want to grab the bag at the corner with your index and thumb, make sure it's fully open, and then with the rest of your fingers grab the rest of the bag, kind of along the side of it. And it's simply tilt the bag until the storm water flows into the beaker. Up the line is good. We'll put our bag of storm water right here. Close the lid, tighten it up. If you want to grab your rag to just clean off any excess fingerprints that you might have accidentally got on the beaker. Looks good to me. Now we're ready to insert it into the meter. So now that we have the stormwater sample in the vial, we're gonna insert it into the turbidity meter. So here we go. Put it into the turbidity meter. We're gonna close the lid of the turbidity meter. Make sure it's on. You gotta give it a second. And then there's on the bottom right hand corner, it's a read button. We'll hit the read, and I'll go ahead and show you the camera as soon as it's done reading. Takes a few seconds. It's done. I'll show the camera. Can the camera see that? Mm-hmm. So we see 1.43 NTUs. NTUs are the units in which turbidity is sampled. And in another video, we'll talk all about the effluent limitations for turbidity on a site. But for now, we're done. We'll put it back, take the sample, and discharge the stormwater out. And now you can put the empty vial back in your case, close the lid, turn the meter off, make sure all of your tools are tightly placed away, and then close the lid. Make a recording of that turbidity value via on paper or your phone, and we move on to the next site. In this scenario, I'll show you how we take a stormwater sample from a site that is not that large and the stormwater runoff is flowing right off of it near the driveway. Now it's obviously not raining, but we were able to mimic some stormwater runoff. And I'm going to show you how we take a sample in a scenario like this. Follow me down here. We have the runoff coming down, and again, this is why the plastic bag is so important. the plastic bag is able to get flat, unlike any kind of bottle that you might use for sampling. Take a look. You get flat, and you make sure that the edge of the plastic bag is flush with the ground. Before you know it, you got your storm water. Now the sampling techniques that we've just gone over and I've shown you are exactly how I would do it in the middle of a storm event. Obviously it wasn't raining today, so we didn't have the element of the weather and the cold and the wind, all of that kind of affecting us. However, you can take these procedures and implement them in the field during a storm event. You might have to get inside your car to do the sampling. You might have to, if you have a hatchback, lift your hatchback up and get under there to protect yourself from the weather while you're doing the sampling. But the techniques are no different and the sampling process is no different. Sometimes you might have to improvise to protect yourself from the elements. We hope you found this video helpful. Thanks for watching.